Thank you for the opportunity, Sister Basim, and thank you for the introduction. So, inshallah, I will talk a little bit today about family dynamics and how can trauma impact these dynamics and what can we do to heal trauma in a family context. So, inshallah, I'll try to do hands-on activities, try to be as interactive as possible. As usual, we have a PDF. Inshallah, we like to share with you. But before I start, I like to maybe go with you through a very simple exercise. So this is like a paper plate, if you like. If you can maybe draw this on a piece of paper, or just while you are sitting or standing, you can imagine your 2 feet is what grounds you to your surrounding. So this is your anchor. So if you can think of two things that are your foundation or things that gives you grounding, what are these two things? I did this exercise day before yesterday with my 10-year-old, and she came up with a few things that are very interesting. So if maybe you wanna write in the chat box or just think about it for a minute. What are the two things? Most likely you have more than two, but can you share two things that make you grounded? So for me, it was my family and my faith. So Islam and also loving my family are very important to me. And these are the things that keep me grounded. And then if you like, this is a trunk. If you can imagine this is your body, or maybe a trunk of it, if you like. What are the things that have to do with your core? What are the things that represent your body after ground have given you the nurture that you need, after you are grounded, and because of your faith, your family, or whatever makes you grounded? What else are the things that represent your core? So for us, it was our core beliefs, our values, our morals. These are things that are very important to us as a family. And then your two arms, your two hands, or the two branches of the tree represent the fruits, if you like, or the byproduct of what, for example, for me, what Islam, my family, and my core values gave me. What are the products of that? Are two things for me. They might be different for you. You can put whatever works for you in the chat box, or put a mental note or write them on a piece of paper. This is just a grounding exercise. So the two branches or the two products that me and my daughter came up with are acts of grace and kindness, random acts of kindness and community service, but also self-care. So the two branches or the two arms, I really, really care about my community. And that's why I said, I have some time to, travel to a refugee camp, or maybe check on my neighbors or people in the community who are struggling. And the other branch that's as important is self-care. And as parents, as families, this is very, very important. You cannot really care for your loved ones and forget yourself. You cannot run on an empty tank. You cannot fill your children's emotional tank while yours is empty. So make sure you are very kind to yourself too. Usually as parents, we put ourselves last. We are kind of doormat, and everybody walks all over us. But really, that can lead to resentment. And parenthood that's based on resentment and strong feelings sometimes bring unhealthy dynamics. So sometimes when I ask about what are, if you can describe parenthood in one word, usually they come up with a word that starts with a letter D. They will say it's depressing, it's disheartening, it's discouraging, it's disgusting. And I tell them there's another D that's missing that we can strive for, which is delightful. I think parenthood, being a family, can be a delightful occasion, can be a delightful thing, inshallah. It can be very joyful, but we need to work towards that, inshallah. So يعني كنت أتحدث إن ممكن نعمل نشاط إنه يعني أقدامك هنا، القدمين يمثل مهمة بالنسبة لك، القاعدة اللي تقف عليها. ممكن بالنسبة لي يعني الرجلين كانوا الإسلام، أو الدين والعائلة. جذع الشجرة أو جسم الإنسان هنا، ما هي الأشياء اللي مهمة لي داخليا؟ بالنسبة لي هي الأخلاق والمثل العليا، هي الأشياء اللي عليها الأصول، يعني العيب والحرام، أشياء زي كده. بعدين اليدين هي الأشياء، هي ثمار هذه الخبرة، يعني الدين وثمار العائلة، ثمار المثل العليا والأخلاق كذا. هي أشياء بالنسبة لي. الشيء الأول هو علاقتي يعني مع غيري من الناس، هي الأشياء الطيبة اللي ممكن أقدمها لمجتمعي، الخدمات المجتمعية. وكذلك لا أنسى نفسي بالمقابل، يعني ممكن أنا أهتم بالعالم كله لكن أهتم بنفسي، لأن فاقد الشيء لا يعطيه. يعني عادة لما نركب في الطيارة يقولون يعني ضع الأكسجين نفسك أو ثم تضعها على الشخص اللي جنبك. It's very important to put the oxygen mask on you first and then help other people, because subhanallah we cannot really be always drained. We are very exhausted when we are caregivers, and if you don't have energy for your loved ones because you're working long hours, because maybe you are trying to chase the American dream and fulfill your family material needs. I said this before, but many of us, we lose the American dream chasing it, because the American dream is our families. And our families is not only materialistic needs, it's also their emotional needs, their spiritual needs. يعني لازم أن نفهم يعني أن الحلم الأمريكي ليس فقط أني أعمل مصاري، وأن يعني أبني بيت، وأن تكون عندي سيارة فخمة وهكذا. بالعكس، أطفالنا يحتاجون أيضا إلى يعني مشاعر ومحبة وعواطف وضمة وقبلة ولمس آمن وتواصل بصري وتواصل لفظي وعدم وجود عنف منزلي. يعني هذه كلها تؤدي إلى الحلم الأمريكي الحق. لأن يعني إذا كان أنت كسبت مال وفقدت أهلك، فقد فقدت الحلم الأمريكي. I mean, if you lose your family, then you have lost the American dream. The American dream is nothing but loving our loved ones. So this is the first exercise I wanted, inshallah, to go through with you. It's just a grounding exercise, and then inshallah we'll do a little bit of hands-on activities while we go through the PDF file. I thought this PDF, if we go through it, there are about 32 points that are really, really important, how to strengthen the relationship between us and our loved ones, especially during times of trauma, like the difficult days we live in right now. هذه نصائح عملية لتقوية الروابط الأسرية، خصوصا في الأسر التي تعرضت لصدمات. فيعني يجب أن لا يكون هدفنا في الحياة مجرد الحماية المادية فقط لأولادنا ولأزواجنا، بل كذلك أن نحاول التعافي العاطفي والروحاني. So yes, it's very important for us to protect our families materialistically, but it's very them emotionally and spiritually, as dangerous as physical abuse. Emotional violence is very ugly. Children sometimes they can remember these words, they can save them for the future, and they will hurt themselves in the future. They will talk to themselves in a negative way. They might even go for self-harm, and this cycle has to stop. And that's why I called my project Untangled, because many families are tangled in the web of trauma that's causing lots of dysfunction that goes from one generation to another. And it's time that we stop that cycle, inshallah, by loving our loved ones. And we can go through many, inshallah, practical tips today on how to provide the love that heals. There is love that heals, and love is not supposed to hurt. If you're hurting your loved ones and you're claiming that you love them, then you have to examine your priorities. يعني الحب لا يسبب الألم، ويجب أن لا يجتمع الحب والعنف تحت سقف واحد. من المهم يعني أن نتعافى، لأن لو أنا يعني حتى بالعنف اللفظي، إذا كنت أعطي أولادي كلمات نابية، كلمات قاسية، يعني تقلل من شأنهم وتحز من شخصيتهم، فسيكبرون يعني مشوشين ومشوهين، وقد يفكرون حتى في إيذاء النفس أو الغير. And I know it's very, very difficult to be a parent. It's maybe the most difficult task, even when there is no trauma. So right now we are working double, especially traumatized families, because of the coronavirus and because of the uncertainty and because there is no end in sight. to this current crisis except with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So imagine that, without the corona, without trauma, it is really difficult enough job. But for families that are, traumatized, they are kind of, they need more work to do. There is lots of things to untangle for them more than families that have not been traumatized. فمهمة التربية يعني مهمة صعبة جدا، خصوصا للعوائل التي تعرضت للصدمة. إن أنت عاوز تحمي أولادك من الصدمة، لكن كذلك عاوز تعافيهم من الصدمة. ممكن الأصوات اللي أولادك يسمعونها الآن هي نفس الأصوات اللي استمعتها أنت في ماضيك. ممكن هذه الأشباح التي يعني يخافون منها في خزاناتهم هي نفس الأشباح التي يعني أخافتك وأفزعتك في مناماتك، خصوصا إذا كان أنت يعني ضحية أو ناجي من عنف لفظي أو عنف جسدي أو عنف جنسي أو عنف يعني بأي وسيلة. سبحان الله. We know that there are many things that cause trauma, and maybe we can go very briefly over the ACE score, which is the Adverse Childhood Experiences score. It's a score of 10 points that has to do with the people common experiences. It was done through the Kaiser health system, and they came up with 10 common experiences that people thought are the most traumatic ones for them, which is have to do with abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, has to do with neglect, emotional neglect, physical neglect. It has to do with families that are struggling with addiction. Somebody maybe was in jail or prison, maybe a family that's going through domestic violence, family going through divorce, or there are many traumatic experiences that happen to people. And I give the ACE score lots of credit, but there are few traumatic experiences that are horrific that were not included in the ACE score, like being a refugee, like being somebody who was a victim of racism or terrorism or torture, or maybe somebody died in the family, and the death of a caregiver. There are many things that were not included in the first ACE study, but we're working on improving that. So it does not mean that if you have a high score, people are saying if you have 4 points out of 10 or more, then you are more prone to having a emotional struggle in the future. That's not always the case. There are other factors, like maybe you have somebody that loves you and cared about you as a child. But the more points you have on the ACE score, I think you have to pay more attention to your mental health and make sure that you have lots of mercy and compassion to yourself. And we talk about 4 points. One is to take care of your biological health, your physical health. The other one is to have your psychological health also tended to. One, and also make sure you have a big and network. So make sure you have a psychosocial support network that cares about you. So when it comes to families that are traumatized, we have to really make sure that they have all the love that they needed, because otherwise they have lots of work to do, and it's really not fair to them when they don't have enough tools to try to heal their children while they themselves are still struggling with their own trauma. And we can do another, inshallah, exercise that I can show you. And I like, maybe we have lots of time with our loved ones. Maybe you can also do this with your children today. يعني حكيت أنا شوية على كيف أن العائلات التي تعرضت للصدمة أحيانا يعني قد تكون فيها أفكار خاطئة. قد يكون ولي الأمر يعني بسبب جراحاته يعني الظاهرة وجراحاته الخفية، قد يكون يعني قليل الصبر أو كثير الهيجان، أو قد يعني يتعامل مع أحبته بطريقة عنيفة. فمن المهم أن نحن نتفهم بعضنا البعض، خصوصا في هذه المرحلة. الكثير منا الآن موجود في مرحلة الحجر الصحي. We are spending more time with our loved ones. and أحيانا يعني المعتدى عليه والمعتدي موجودين الآن تحت سقف واحد. Sometimes the abused and the abuser are living under one roof. So we want to make sure that we give all the support that people need, and we do it in a way that's non-threatening. That's why sometimes I encourage the use of play and art therapy. I, use movies that children can watch, like, Inside Out, that talks about, children feeling in a way that's not threatening. يعني لا بأس أن نلعب مع أولادي أو نستخدم وسائل الفن والعلاج باللعب وغيرها. أتفرج معهم على بعض الكرتون، يعني زي Inside Out. هذه كرتون كانت مفيدة جدا، يعني كيف الأولاد يعبروا عن مشاعرهم بطريقة آمنة. لكن هذا النشاط يعني فيه أشياء تطرقت إليها اليوم، وهي يعني your heart. ما هي الأشياء التي تؤدي إلى تعافي أو إلى كسر خاطر الإنسان؟ الشيء الثاني هو your body، جسمك. ما هي الأشياء التي تؤدي إلى تقوية أو ضعف في جسمك؟ كذلك عقلك your mind، كذلك روح spirit or your soul. So نحن نعرف أن الإنسان يعني you are made of four things, your body, your heart, your mind, and your soul. So make sure you tend to all of them. So the exercise child 2 days ago, I asked her to write things that will lead her to sing or sink. Sing with a G and sink with a K. وكذلك يعني what can lead her body and her mind and her soul to do the same. So maybe take a minute and write in the chat box things that make your body sing or sink, make your heart sing or sink, your mind and your soul. Maybe I can also join you in the chat room and see what people can write there. You don't have to write, of course, if you don't feel comfortable doing that. So things that make your heart are things that gives you healing, give you peace, give you serenity, tranquility, things that lead your body to heal. Maybe things that have to do with self-care. MashaAllah, I have somebody that their heart sing. Maybe their body sing when they take a nice walk, especially when they go to the beach. That's wonderful, MashaAllah. Sometimes our heart will sink when people use bad words or people are verbally abusive. So our spirit, there are things that are uplifting, things that are sometimes defeating. And that's why in the first, seminar we talked about how the Prophet ﷺ used to talk to people during these times of difficulties. He used to uplift them. He's not somebody who encouraged a message of pessimism, but rather he was always optimistic. He was not, causing people to think this is a punishment from Allah. He would say this is a test from Allah. For some of us, this test may be a punishment. For others, it's maybe purification or refinement. For others, it's even an elevation for our status in Jannah, inshallah. There are good points. There are, spiritual discussion on, and mashallah, Ramadan is coming in 1 week. It will be a difficult Ramadan for some, because if you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or you can only practice your religion in the masjid, then you might struggle. But remember, we talked about this before. We said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not only found in, you will find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala outside the mosque too, when you go and take care of your loved ones, take care of your community, and mend broken hearts. فحكينا على هذا من قبل. قلنا يعني أن الله سبحانه وتعالى يعني قد يمتحننا في هذا الشهر الكريم أن تكون المساجد مغلقة، ممكن يعني أن لا نحضر صلاة التراويح في جماعة، لكن لا بأس أن أصلي مع أهلي، لا بأس يعني أني أطمئن على أحبابي. ممكن أعمل جلسات عن طريق الفيديو مع أشخاص في الجالية، ممكن يعني أن أركز على خلوة مع الله سبحانه وتعالى. وكذلك سترى وجه الله كلما عملت عملا مجتمعيا and حاولت أن تجبر بخواطر الآخرين. Okay, if we can go back to the document, inshallah. Yeah, happy times with the family is something that's very, very important, that usually makes our heart sing. For some of us, unfortunately, being around our family can make our heart sink with a K, which is really discouraging, because this is the time that we can use to bond our families. We have plenty of sunlight, alhamdulillah, and if iftar and maghrib will come after many hours of us sitting together. having an idle time. So if we have, a routine and structure that's flexible, if we can, inshallah, try to encourage each other to reach our full potential, and just use this time productively, inshallah. We can talk, how to use your time wisely if some people are interested in that. But let us, talk about families that are traumatized. And I know many of us are traumatized. And I know this current crisis is traumatizing for the whole country. So we're going through this as a communal affair. So the trauma does not have to break us. Actually, trauma can break or make a family. It's about your attitude towards the trauma and your perception of the trauma. If you think that's the end of the world, that this trauma is because you are a bad person, or it happens to you because you deserve to be punished, or if you don't have hope, if you don't have strong faith in the divine, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing this for a reason. Sometimes we don't know the reason. Sometimes we have many questions for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And subhanallah, I was reading a book that I, I came across by accident. It's called Oh Allah, allow me to see you. ربي أرني أنظر إليك. في كتاب اسمه ربي أرني أنظر إليك. كتاب رائع يعني. It's just wonderful book about how Prophet Musa alayhi salam, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, oh Allah, allow me to see you. He said, how can I ask you in a way that's befitting to you? And I'm going to give khutbah about this on Friday, inshallah, which is the way that we can ask Allah how He is going to show us Himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala, in many different ways. So Allah did not show Musa alayhi salam His face. He said, oh Musa, you cannot see me, not today. And maybe, inshallah, we'll see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Jannah. All of us, inshallah, will see beautiful, face in paradise. But we cannot see His face now. But we can see His light. We can see His beauty, even in the darkness of these days. Actually, we can see His beauty more because of the darkness. Remember Rumi, he said, there are beautiful things that you can only see in the dark. رومي هو شاعر صوفي معروف، قال يعني تستطيع أن ترى النور في الظلمة، وتستطيع أن ترى النور بسبب الظلمة. تستطيع أن ترى الجمال يعني زي جمال يعني البدر في تمامه، جمال النجوم وهي تضيء، الألعاب النارية يعني حشرات مضيئة في الظلام تراها بسبب الظلام. But sometimes because of the darkness we see beautiful things like butterflies or fireworks or full moon or bright stars. So subhanallah, yani, just if we have a little bit of mind shift, if we think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يبتلي ليعذب لا ليعذب, sometimes is testing us not for punishment but also for finding our own beauty. There is a reason that we are chosen on earth. يعني نحن خليفة الله بسبب. Ta'ala shows us over the angels to represent Him, because we have lots of beauty and we deserve lots of beauty, and we should search for beauty, and eventually we will find the face of Allah and we can see Him. We can see Him if we look for Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So يعني الصدمة ممكن أن تنجح في تحطيم عائلتك، لكن ستفشل في هذه المهمة. الصدمة ستفشل إن نحن واجهناها بالحب والأمل. So we can actually ruin the plan of trauma to ruin us if we stand up as one united team, don't see each other as the enemy, but rather spend lots of love and hope on our loved ones. من أهم وسائل الشفاء الحب غير مشروط. هذا أمر مهم. So it's very important to remember that our love for our loved ones is unconditional love. I love you just because of you. There is no other reason. I love you for no reason. I love you because you are the gift of Allah to me. It's okay to say this to your loved ones, to your wife, to your children. There is nothing aib or haram. Even if they are teenagers, it's okay. SubhanAllah, I'm very, very, keen on trying to find ways to express my love to my children. And I have 3 daughters, and 2 of them are already teenagers, and I have no shame in saying I love you, Habibti Ayuni, you're my eyes, you're the light of my eyes, you're my heartbeat. It's okay to say that as a father. يعني سبحان الله لا ينقص ذلك من المروءة شيئا أن تبدي حبك لأولادك. يعني سيدنا المصطفى عليه الصلاة والسلام هو سيد الرجال، كان يعني يقوم من مكانه عندما يرى السيدة فاطمة يقبلها بين عينيه ثم يجلسها مكانه. So our beloved Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, his daughter Fatima, and she was already married woman, every time he will see her, he will stand up, he will kiss her between her eyes, and he will make her sit in his place. This is our, role model alayhi salatu wasalam. He was very verbal in his love to Khadija, to Aisha. He publicly told people when they asked him, "O Prophet of Allah, who do you love?" He said, "Aisha." He said, "Ya Rasulullah, man ahabba an-nas ilayk?" قال Aisha. قالوا من الرجال قال أبوها. And they said, "Oh, we are asking you about who do you love most of the men." He said, when it comes to men, it's her father, Abu Bakr. When it comes to the woman, and he spent, the night of Fath Mecca with his wife, Khadija, and she was already dead. So he went and he spent the night at her grave, and he was remembering her memories. So subhanallah, he did that publicly. Rasulullah, he showed his emotions publicly. So there's nothing shameful about showing our emotions and being a role model for our loved ones. So it's very important, especially during this crisis, that our children see how do we behave, because maybe the only thing that they will remember from the COVID-19 is what my mom or dad did during this crisis. So let us try to be role models for them, inshallah, through expressing our feelings in a healthy way. من المهم يعني أن أعبر عن مشاعري لأولادي. الآن قد ينظرون إلينا أولادنا ونحن القدوة والمثل الأعلى بالنسبة لهم، فإذا رأونا نحن يعني فاقدين الأمل ومحبطين ونلعن الظلام، سيلعنون الظلام وسيخافون وسيصبحون مهزوزي الشخصية. إذا رأوا أن نحن بدل أن نلعن الظلام نحن نحاول إيقاد شمعة، نحاول أن نجد الأمل، النور، نجد مساعدة وشفاء الآخرين، فسيقتدون بنا في ذلك. فمن المهم تعبير عن أنفسنا بطريقة صحية وآمنة إن شاء الله. And I already, talked about this, but it's very important really to take care of yourself first before you take care of everybody else. And it does not have to be either or. Of course, you can take care of your children and your loved ones while taking care of yourself. So you can do that, inshallah, through, spending some time on you, making sure you have a healthy sleep, hygiene, you make sure that you have healthy eating habits, make sure, inshallah, that you have time that you practice your religion, times that you have a hobby, and spending maybe social time with people that you care about, maybe friends. So I wonder if maybe in the chat, some of you can write down what are some ways that you use as parents for self-care. So self-care includes all the four, aspects of us. How do we care for our heart, our body, our mind, and our soul? كيفية الاهتمام وبالروح وبالقلب وبالعقل يعني. We talked a little bit about this. Some of you wrote forgiveness, understanding, spending time with family. And we have a golden opportunity now. And inshallah, next week, we're going to talk in more detail. And I have a gift for you guys, inshallah, next week, which is a book about Ramadan. I wrote a book that you can use during Ramadan to bond with your loved ones with lots of activities, inshallah. It will be a PDF that I give it to you as a gift, inshallah, for this blessed month. But some of you wrote, we share a cup of, coffee with our moms. Yeah, I wish if my mom's still around, subhanAllah. I lost my mom in 2016. And I don't know, I think she remembered who I was, but my mom, before she died, she had dementia. It was a severe case of dementia. So I took 5 flights to go and spend the last week with her. And subhanAllah, I was next to her when she died. But I don't know if she ever remembered me, but my heart is telling me that she did remember me, because that's what moms do, She will look at me and she's like, has this look in her eyes, like, I know this guy, but I don't remember his name, subhanAllah. Alhamdulillah, I saw her in a dream that was a closure for me. But, I struggled a lot because I'm mama's boy. And, in the dream, alhamdulillah, I knew that she was in paradise. When somebody told me, it doesn't matter if you cry or not cry over your mom, and the angels attended her funeral. سبحان الله يعني قال لي صوت في المنام يعني ابكي على أمك أو لا تبكي فإن أمك صلت عليها الملائكة. سبحان الله, I will tell you why my mom maybe and the angels attended her funeral. She was not, special woman, when it comes to being famous or popular. She was very, very special woman because of her kindness and compassion. We barely saw our mom because she was always busy taking care of the needs of others. So whenever somebody is sick in the hospital, whenever a family has somebody who died, even a family that we don't know, she will go and be with them. And we say, Mom, you don't know them. And she will say, I know that they are feeling lots of pain and hurt. And if I can do something about it, I will do it. So subhanallah, يعني من المهم أن إن شاء الله نقضي بعض الوقت مع أحبتنا قبل أن نفقدهم. إن يعني البعض كتب يعني أجلس وأشرب كوب قهوة مع أمي. وأنا حكيت على الوالدة يعني الله يرحمها، كان من المهم لي أني أجلس معها أكبر وقت ممكن. لذلك يعني الآن أحاول أن أقضي أقصى وقت ممكن مع عائلتي، والحمد لله هي مناسبة ذهبية الآن. أنا أعرف البعض يعني يخاف مثلا أنه يفقد شغله، أو ممكن الظروف الاقتصادية تؤثر، ممكن يعني المستقبل القريب قد يؤدي إلى بعض الأزمات النفسية، لكن نحاول أن إن شاء الله نتعافى منها، لأن الحب والأمل يعني هما أهم وسائل التعافي والشفاء. Okay, if we can go back to the PDF إن شاء الله. Okay, so if you don't, take care of yourself and try to pay attention to the trauma, trauma can go from one generation to another. الصدمة لها تأثير يمكن أن يمتد عبر الأجيال. ممكن الصدمة أنت تعطيها لابنك، ابنك يعطيها لحفيدك وهكذا. It's very, very important that we break the cycle by loving each other and by paying attention. And I will, inshallah, talk on the next point about how to do that. So the next point is about how to open channels of communication and build bridges of trust with our loved ones. كيف نبني يعني جسور ثقة ونفتح قنوات تواصل مع من نحب. نعملها بأشياء يعني بسيطة جدا، أشياء من السهل أن نعملها. يعني سبحان الله لما رحت إلى مخيمات اللاجئين، وأحيانا أروح إلى ليبيا بسبب ظروف الحرب وهكذا، يعني مرة اضطريت أني أجلس هناك مدة 6 شهور. كانت عائلتي هنا في كولورادو. السبب أن عائلتي الثانية في ليبيا يعني الوالد والوالدة وإخواني كانوا يعني على قرب أنه تحصل مجزرة، وكنت سأفقد أهلي كلهم في هذه المجزرة وهكذا. لكن سبحان الله يعني لما رجعت هنا لأمريكا، وجدت بناتي يعني شديدات القلق، كانوا خايفات على أبوهن ممكن يموت أو تحصل له شيء. علمت نفسي كيفية العلاج باللعب، العلاج بالفن، كيف أتواصل مع بناتي. كان مهم جدا بالنسبة ارتبط بهن من جديد عن طريق التواصل البصري، التواصل اللفظي، اللمس، السلام وغيرها من الأشياء المهمة. So what I did, maybe you can practice this. If you are doing it, it's wonderful. If you're not doing it enough, you can maybe start practicing some of these tips today, which is start with eye contact. Maybe you can do a staring contest with your children. Maybe if they are a little older, you can just sit next to them and let them know that you are there for them. It might feel awkward at first, but that's okay. It's better to do it now. It's better to have healing even later than never. It's better to arrive late than never arrive. And when it comes to our loved ones, we can never, give up on them. You cannot afford to stop loving your loved ones. So maybe practice the art of smiling. Make sure that you have safe touch. You can do that through, thumb war or arm wrestling, or make your children come and ride on your back. There's nothing wrong about that. The beloved Prophet والسلام, the young Sahaba used to ride on his back. كان عليه الصلاة والسلام يمتطي الصبيان ظهره، فكان يقول نعم الراكب ونعم المركوب عليه الصلاة والسلام. وكذلك يعني بعض الأطفال الصحابة إجوا جلسوا على عاتقه المبارك. Some of the young Sahaba companions, they felt very safe around Muhammad عليه الصلاة والسلام. They came and they climbed on his shoulders. And this is the title of my first book, On the Shoulders of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, because he was a safe available, emotionally available caregiver that was invested, that was deliberate, and was always available for the children and made them feel that they are valued, they are empowered, that they are part of the solution. He did not always see them as the problem, alayhi salatu wasalam. You can spread the message of a hope through smiling, through saying salam. And salam, some of us, we say salam comes from submission, and we say salam comes from peace, but also remember salam comes from safety. So when I say salam, that means you are safe around me, I am safe around you. And if we are saying this as part of the family, that means there is no violence, there is no unsafe behavior when it comes to the family dynamics. So من المهم يعني أني أسلم على أهلي، أني أتكلم معهم التواصل اللفظي. Make sure you master the art of listening, active listening. Don't only listen with your ears, only listen with your eyes and with your heart. Make sure that you listen for the message. Sometimes our children, when they feel unseen or unheard or unnoticed, they might do that, through behavior that's irritating to us. So sometimes they will be defiant, sometimes they will be agitated, sometimes they might be even violent. They can start to fight with you, or they might be disrespectful to you and stuff like that. Remember that that's not the message. The message is something else. Usually it's unmet need. So لا تركز يعني فقط على التصرفات، لكن ركز على الرسالة التي تحت التصرفات. أحيانا أولادنا قد لا يجدون الكلمات للتعبير عن مشاعرهم، فيعبرون عن مشاعرهم بتصرفات تؤدي بنا إلى يعني التعنيف. ممكن أني أبعث الطفل إلى غرفته. Some of us will send the children for time out in their room. And this is very interesting because if my child is telling me very loud and clear that they don't have the words, they cannot manage their difficult emotions, then I'll tell them, go to your room and try to sort it out. They are telling me very loud and clear that they cannot, they are unable to sort it out. So time out is an old, school that we don't do anymore. We send children to time in. So I will say, if you are ready to talk, I'm ready to listen. So come sit next to your dad and let us try to brainstorm and let us try to get through this together. And this is how Muhammad ﷺ did. Remember, there was a young Sahabi, maybe a teenager, that he said, "Oh Prophet of Allah, allow me to fornicate." He said, "I just have lots of desire, and I need to engage in, a relationship that's not halal." And the Sahaba, they were about to beat him up, but the Rasul ﷺ, he said, "Come for time in." He said, "Udnu." Udnu means come closer to me. Sit down and tell me what's going on. So يعني الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام كان طبيب القلوب، كان أستاذ في فن يعني ملاحظة مشاعر الآخرين. لما دخل أحد الصحابة الصغار وقال يا رسول الله ائذن لي بالزنا، يعني كانت يعني سؤال صعب جدا. بعض الصحابة هم أن يعنفه وأن يطرده من المسجد، لكن المصطفى الحبيب قال له أدنو، اجلس جنبي وأخبرني لماذا تفكر في هذا الأمر. ثم مسح على صدره ودعا له وحصن فرجه. يعني سبحان الله. And when he made that dua, when he made validate and listen to, that child can easily channel his restless energy into more productive things. So if we don't really spend the time, working on family dynamics, we might repeat the cycle. So let us, inshallah, go to the next point when it comes to building bridges of trust, because love is very important for our children, for them to grow and thrive, not only physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. من المهم لنمو أولادنا السليم جسديا وعاطفيا وروحانيا أن نوفر لهم الكثير من الحب. And love, sometimes I say love stands for L is listening, O is options, so we give our children as many options as possible, and then V for validation, and E for empowerment. So I can, inshallah, make my children part of the solution by asking their opinion, by assigning tasks to them that are, fair. And if they have not done their assignments, I can talk to them about the consequences. These have to be realistic. They have to be reasonable. They should not involve any kind of violence. So يعني حتى عندما لا يسمع الأولاد كلامنا لا يحصل تعنيف لا لفظي ولا جسدي، بل يعني نحن نخبرهم ما هو العقاب المناسب لهذه يعني المشكلة، وهي عدم سماع كلام الوالد أو الوالدة. وأحيانا الأولاد ما يسمعون كلامنا لأنهم ممكن في أشياء أفضل يعملوها، يتفرج على الفيديو أو يحكي مع أصحابه. يعني maybe I give them the benefit of the doubt. If they don't listen to me, maybe they have not heard me. Maybe if they heard me, maybe they're doing something more fun than just washing the dishes, or maybe they're talking to some of their friends online. Maybe they are enjoying an activity. So if I can give them a warning and say, okay, enjoy this for 15 more minutes, and then inshallah, I want you to finish what the chores that's assigned to you, and you can after that go back to playing. It's very important to give them as much flexibility as possible, especially during these difficult times, because some of the children, they show lots of regression in their behavior nowadays with the trauma, with the COVID-19 thing. Some of them, they want to sleep with their mom and dad. Some of them, they start to, bite their fingernails. Some of them, they start to suck their thumbs. Some of them might, go and uh, wet their bed. And we have to have lots of patience for these behaviors, because these are all manifestations of trauma. أحيانا الصدمة قد تؤدي إلى الأولاد إلى النقوص العمري، مثل قضم الأظافر أو مص الأصابع أو التبول في الفراش، أو ممكن عاوزين يناموا مع الوالد والوالدة في الفراش أحيانا. لا بأس من المرونة في هذا، خصوصا في ظل هذه الأزمات والصدمات الكبيرة. So inshallah, if we can go to the next point, you can show me the PDF, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, one more inshallah. Okay, we talked about this. If you can, please build a village, because your child needs as much, healing as possible. And sometimes it takes a whole village to heal, one child. Make sure that you are also somebody that, have lots of support. So make sure you build the social support network for you and for your loved ones. ابني شبكة دعم اجتماعي قوية. يعني من المهم لشفاء طفل قد تحتاج قرية كاملة، قد تحتاج إلى عم وعمة، خال وخالة، جد وجدة، تحتاج إلى جار وجارة، قد تحتاج إلى إمام في المسجد، قد تحتاج إلى أخصائية اجتماعية، قد تحتاج إلى مثلا معالجة نفسية، تحتاج إلى مدرسة وغيرها وهكذا. من المهم أن أبني شبكة دعم اجتماعي قوية لشفاء أسرتي بإذن الله. وهذا قصة وصمة العار أمر مهم أحيانا، خصوصا نحن في الطبيعة الشرقية قد لا نصدق أن في جانب نفسي أو اجتماعي، لكن المصطفى الحبيب صلى الله عليه وسلم كان دائما يركز على الأمور النفسية، خصوصا عند الصحابة الصغار. Some of us, we come from communities and cultures that don't believe in anything to do with psychosocial needs. We have lots of stigma, and it's very, very unfortunate, because our beloved Prophet ﷺ, he was always attuned to people, emotional needs, and he was the best counselor. Whenever he goes to the mosque, he will sit down with whoever is stressed out. أحيانا نحن كأولياء أمور نفعل أفضل ما نستطيع. نحتاج إلى بعض الخبرات، قد نحتاج إلى بعض التمارين، قد نحتاج إلى دورات مثل هذه. All of us, we are good enough parents. We are trying our best given our circumstances. But when it comes to our loved ones, it's okay to ask for more tools, to go through some training. There's nothing wrong with that, inshallah. Because our children are like seeds, if I give them the water, they will become flowers. They're like beautiful butterflies, but some of them, because of our verbal abuse, they continue to believe that they are not worthy, that they are ugly, they might not reach their full potential because of something that we might do for them. And somebody said that, verbal abuse is basically a knife or a gun that you give to your child. They will take it, they will hide it, and at one point in their life, they will take it out and hurt themselves or hurt other people. So من المهم إن شاء الله أنك تفطن إلى ألفاظك، لأن البعض يقول أن الألفاظ السيئة والقاسية والنابية هي أسلحة أنت تعطيها لأولادك، قد يستخدمونها في إيذاء النفس أو الغير يوما ما. We can go to the next point, inshallah. And subhanallah, I talked before about Inside Out, which is one movie. Another children cartoon that I like is Finding Nemo. if you remember, Finding Nemo was a fish that lost his mom and all of his siblings, but his father, was very protective father. He was like, quote unquote, helicopter father. And in a way, he limited Nemo's potential. He said, Nemo, you cannot go to school, you cannot swim in the ocean. He was very worried about the boy, and the boy became more anxious because his father was very anxious because of his own trauma, watching his wife and his children eaten by other fish. So it's very important that we don't, limit our children world like Nemo's father did. So لا تقص أجنحة أطفالك، لا تحد من قدراتهم. سبحان الله، هم خلقوا من غير وجود سقف. We are limitless. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in his image, and we are his representative. We are in a higher status than the angels. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Anfal, he said, إن يكن منكم 20 صابرون يغلبوا 200. Your potential is 10 times what you are doing right now. But then in the next ayah, he said, الآن خفف الله عنكم وعلم أن فيكم ضعفا فإن تكن منكم 100 صابرة يغلبوا 200. He said, but Allah knows that we are, as humans, we are weak. So at least do twice what you can do. Your full potential is 10 times what you are doing right now, but at least you can do double what you are doing right now. And that will include spending love on your loved ones, inshallah. Trauma is very, very dangerous when it comes to our children self-worth and self-image and identity. So subhanAllah, if you remember when we started the first exercise, I told you, if you imagine that you have, a tree, or maybe your own, body, there are two legs. Also the children, the two important foundations for them is the belief that the world is a safe place, and the belief that adults can be trusted to take care of them. من المهم لأولادنا أن ينشأوا نشأة آمنة، أن تكون شخصيتهم قوية، أن يؤمنوا بأن العالم مكان آمن، ويؤمنوا أن أن في بالغين يستطيعون حمايتهم. عندما يصبح العالم مكانا مخيفا، عندما يصبح الشخص اللي يعذبهم هو الشخص اللي المفروض يهتم بهم ويحميهم، قد يحصل تشوش واضطراب وتشوه في تفكير الطفل وفي نظرته إلى نفسه وإلى العالم من حوله. So sometimes, for the children to believe that, the world is a safe place, and also to believe that adults, our caregivers, are trusted, and to see them and notice them and hear them and take care of their basic needs. These are the two important foundations for our children, self-esteem and identity. So when trauma comes and makes children very confused because the world is no longer a safe place, because adults are no longer are trusted, especially if there is domestic violence in the household, then our children will be very confused, and maybe their identity will be shaken. So subhanAllah, if you can do lots of reassurance, and also bring a little bit of safety and sanity to the household, I think the best thing you can do is maybe there is a virus outside the house, maybe the whole world outside of your door is unsafe. Your door is safe. Make sure your interpersonal space with your loved ones is always a place of safety. Verbally, sexually, whatever it is. يعني قد يكون العالم مكانا مخيفا مليئا بالفيروسات والجراثيم والقتل والتدمير والتشريد والطائرات وغيرها، لكن لا تستطيع تغيير العالم، لكن تستطيع تغيير عالمك الصغير، أن تجعل المساحة بينك وبين أحبائك مساحة دائما آمنة جسديا ولفظيا وجنسيا وروحيا ومعنويا وغيرها إن شاء الله. Okay, so inshallah, I like to leave a little bit of room for questions, so I'll go very quickly through this. We talked about children needing to have freedom, but also needing to have lots of affection. يحتاج الطفل يوميا إلى مساحة حرية وجرعة حنان. So try not to be very controlling these days. Try to give them as much flexibility as you can. We talked about sometimes the children, when they don't have the words to express their feelings, they will express their feelings behaviorally, maybe academically, maybe somatically. Maybe they'll have stomach pain or heart pain, or maybe they'll have headache. And maybe our children will show their emotions in different ways. Whatever the situation, never see your child as the enemy. Many of us, we see our children as the enemy. You should see the trauma as the common enemy of the family. and stand up for trauma as united team. ولدك ليس عدوك، قد تكون الصدمة هي العدو المشترك للعائلة، فتقف ضد الصدمة كفريق واحد، لأن الطفل الذي لا يشعر بالأمان قد تبدو منه تصرفات غير آمنة. When your child feels unsafe, their behavior might be unsafe. And remember, we talked about it's not only materialistic needs. Make sure that you focus on their emotional needs too. This is very heartbreaking. There was a survey that was to Muslim girls, and the question was, uh, what's the first thing that comes to your mind or to your heart, or maybe what are your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors when you feel or when you hear your father coming through the garage door or your father opening the front door? You know, if you hear the key, what's the first thing that comes? And many of the children, many of them are teenage girls, they said, I feel lump in my throat. I feel pain in my stomach. I feel like, my heart is racing. It's really very sad when your family feels they are safe when you leave and they are unsafe when you walk in. It's very unfortunate when our families walk on eggshells around us. أشد الآباء تعاسة هم الذين يشعرون أولادهم بالأمان عند غيابهم ويشعرون بالخوف عند حضورهم إلى البيت. That's not the way Muhammad عليه الصلاة والسلام was. His family, they said عليه الصلاة والسلام كان دائم التبسم. He was always smiling. كان يعني قال عليه الصلاة والسلام خيركم خيركم لأهله. The best among you is the best to their family. He was always, attuned and participating in whatever his family needs, both materialistic and emotional needs. To make your family and your home a safe house, make sure it means there is no space, there is zero tolerance policy for any kind of violence. These are some ways that we talked about. نظرة فابتسامة فسلام ثم لمس فموعد فكلام. These are some ways that you can improve the relationship with your family. Eye contact, smiling, greeting, safe touch, active listening, talking to them rather than talking over them. Don't lecture them, don't shame them, don't give them names that will cause them to, have hard feelings. Spend lots of time together. Alhamdulillah, now we have the quantity. Inshallah, when the corona thing is over, maybe some of us, we don't have enough quantity of time to spend with our family. If that's the case, at least focus on the quality of the relationship. Do lots of activities. And inshallah, next week we'll do lots of these activities, and then I'll give you the Ramadan book. And we said this before, it's better to have healing late than never. Make sure that you express your feelings, because this is an act of courage. It's not act of weakness. And make sure that you are not really buying into the stigma of the emotional needs, because if we feel that we are a burden on our family and we stop talking to them, then everybody will suffer in silence. And this is what I see as a psychiatrist with the Muslim community. Many of the families will come to me when things are very late, when it's about to have a divorce, when children are, somebody have left the religion, and somebody is actively using substance. هذا أمر يعني معيب للأسف. يعني العيادة تبع المسلمين أرى أن البعض يعني يأتي إلي متأخرا. قد يحصل طلاق، قد يحصل طلاق عاطفي، قد يحصل عنف منزلي. بعض الأولاد يفكرون في ترك الجالية أو ترك الإسلام، وهذا كله قد نستطيع تلافيه أو أتوا إلي مبكرا. Maybe we can prevent or reduce the impact of trauma if people reach out much earlier, inshallah. Okay, I think the next page is the last one. Remember what's the legacy you're leaving for your children, or in your children. They will remember the way that you treated them and made them feel. They will not remember how many toys you brought them. They will remember the time that you spent together. And you can either destroy your child or you can build them up. And it's really easier for us to, inshallah, build our children than to fix them in the future when they are broken adults. Make sure that we are the best role model for them. لأن أولادنا يقلدون ما نفعل. ثم نحسن الظن بهم نعطيهم أفضل ما لدينا. Make sure that you think the best of your children and give them your best. And don't forget yourself in the picture. Don't look for perfection. الكمال لله سبحانه وتعالى فقط. أنت بس استمتع بالعلاقة. enjoy the relationship rather than the perfection, focus on the connection. And your children is your best investment in the United States. This is the best investment you can do. أفضل استثمار لك في أمريكا أن تحب أحبائك. So I will stop here إن شاء الله. سأقف هنا so I can take comments or questions that you have. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. And next week, inshallah, we'll finish with the Ramadan activities.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reda. We really enjoyed that. Once again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to either unmute yourself and go ahead and ask a question or write it in the chat box. The teacher in me always likes to go back and summarize things that at least I heard louder than others. I really loved when you said about how many of us are losing the American dream while chasing it. I know that's a fact that we see a lot in our immigrant and refugee community. So we need to remember that. And you ended that with saying how our children are our best investment in this country, and we have to remember both together and not lose the American dream while we're chasing it. And how you said that don't be stuck in the tangled in the web of trauma, and to break the cycle. That was another good point that spoke loudly, especially in our profession. I see
social
one
trauma
comment.
after the virus. Yeah.
Yes, I see one comment. Many are expecting social trauma after COVID. How would we address it?
Yeah, I mean, the good news that if you like, the psychological community, psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, we are anticipating that there's a COVID-20, if you like. Actually, I wrote a paper about COVID-20, which is a psychological crisis. What it was published this morning. So if you like to go Psychiatric Times, or just write down my name and then COVID-20, you'll read the article and ways that we can, inshallah, prepare for the next wave of the corona. I think the next wave will be a psychological crisis. This is not a pessimistic. I'm not a fear monger. I'm very realistic. I'm very optimistic. But we see it right now. We see the sharp increase in the rates of depression, despair, anxiety, restlessness in the whole country, child abuse, domestic violence, substance use, whatever it is, suicide thoughts. And we really are working very hard on multiple ways to address this through education, like what we are doing today, alhamdulillah. And I'm very impressed with, the Milwaukee, Wisconsin community. Mashallah, you guys are very proactive when it comes to the emotional needs of your community. So that's very wonderful. You already have a place of healing. You already have a safe house and many things that will be, very handy when the Corona 20 will come. But make sure that that social trauma is better treated with social connection. I think actually the best treatment for any mental illness or emotional, disorder is so this social distancing thing is affecting people. I wish if they just change it into physical distancing, because it is asked to not love each other. We just social, we keep a space, maybe 6 feet, but we continue to check on one another and do activities even online like this. But I think if everybody try to focus on their loved ones, they try to clean the space in front of their home, the whole ummah, the whole country will heal, inshallah. If everybody just makes this space between you and me a safe space, every interpersonal interaction is a safe interaction, the whole country will be safe, inshallah.
Correct, I agree. And that also parallels to what you had said later on in your session about how people need, especially in our culture and our community, to not be ashamed to seek professional help. As you mentioned, some people come to you a little too late, that you wish you would have seen them ahead of time. And we've mentioned that a few times. There's no virtue in suffering in silence, and there's certainly no shame in seeking professional help. So we want our viewers to remember that and tell that to their friends. So if they need help, there's certainly no shame in seeking help, especially from professionals. So thank you. Any last questions or comments from the chat room? Okay. Well, thank you again, Dr. Reda. It was immensely informative and a pleasure listening to you as always, and we look forward to next week. And I personally am looking forward to getting that free PDF of your next book coming up. So, all
Inshallah.
right. So thank you very much.
My
Have a good
pleasure.
evening.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Jazakumullah khair.